This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now.
Good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome to Open Line. Brian Callahan with you all this week, and David Williams, of course, producing the show. Numbers to call in the St. John's metro area, 709-273-5211. Know them off by heart by now in the St. John's metro, and elsewhere, of course, 1-888-590-VOCM or 8626. So you take the good with the bad, dealing with the storm earlier this week. But this morning, just spectacular. Last night, beautiful evening. Hardly a breath out around these parts. Cool, crisp air. If you put any kind of winter clothing on and went for a walk, it was just beautiful out. So yeah, stop and smell the roses before we get slammed again, which is bound to happen because the groundhog said so. Okay, a bit of sports off the top before we get into the heavy stuff. So the Olympics are officially underway in northern Italy, and a win right out of the gate for Canada's mixed doubles curling team yesterday includes former NL and Team Guju member Brett Gallant. And of course, the opening ceremonies are tomorrow. And yeah, so that's going to be some great TV watching. And of course, the Super Bowl is coming up on Sunday. Of course, that's the New England Patriots against the Seattle Seahawks against the backdrop of the Olympics. And I mentioned yesterday, of course, downhill legend Lindsey Vonn of the U.S. will be skiing on that day, so it'll be a picture-in-picture day for me. Lots of great storylines, though, for the Super Bowl, including the fact that, and I mentioned earlier this week that, you know, the former coach and owner of the Patriots were sort of left on the outside looking in for the first ballot of a Hall of Fame voting, which is still sending some ripples and waves around the sports world. But Brady, who won 6 Super Bowls, spent 20 years with the Pats as a quarterback, he's actually going to be in the booth doing the Fox TV coverage. So he's an analyst for the game, has been for Fox all season. But, you know, you can't help but see the dynamic going on here. He insists he doesn't have a, quote, dog in the fight, not rooting for either team. But what's interesting, of course, also, it's not just whether you wonder he's rooting for the Pats, but he's also part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, of course. And their next coach is the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. So who do you? I mean, if you can't really accuse him of rooting for one or the other, because he's got he says he doesn't, but sort of does have a dog in both games, in both fights. But he says not rooting for either side, and we'll leave that to you to decide. Okay. So one of the hardest parts of this show, and I have to tell you, because a lot of the feedback you get after the show is along these lines, is just making sure that you touch on everything that people want to hear, which of course is impossible. I mean, it really bears repeating, as Patty has in the past, that there are so many topics. And I tell you, I mean, we all know the consensus is, of course, 100% that Patty can touch on just about everything in his preamble and yet still get hammered for not bringing up this topic or that topic because there's just so little time. And I've always said, as long as I have a caller in the queue, I'm not going to waste your time with my voice. It's going to be yours. And especially, as I said, if callers are waiting. So if I see one waiting, you know, I'm inclined to shut up and make sure and take that call because that's what this show is all about. It feeds off you, not me. So try to keep that in mind when you're yelling at the radio or privately scolding the host under your breath. If you don't hear something that's important to you, that's on you. You know what to do. You know, you're saying, why aren't they talking about this or why aren't they talking about that? Pick up the phone, give us a shout. Simple as that. Okay, some rapid fire just before we get to those calls. So I mentioned yesterday that the new PC government has certainly, you know, been slowly but surely putting its stamp on this new administration over Confed, and I listed a number of decisions, of course, announcements of late, from the shelving of the Churchill Falls MOU to the cancelling of the new hospital at Kenmount Crossing, terminating another MOU, the one for marine protected areas on the south coast, and the list goes on. So this afternoon, Premier Tony Wakeham will go before the microphones, as we like to say, to expand on that and the plan going forward as he looks back on the first 100 days of the new government. He's got a news conference, of course, planned for this afternoon, and VOCM News will be there. But certainly open to your opinions on what has or hasn't been accomplished or achieved thus far. Did you have higher expectations? Is this par for the course so far when a new government comes into power? And will often, for months and on end, blame the situation on the former government before they actually get on the ground and say, okay, now we got a handle on these things. But where you think things are going with this government, I think it's fair to say the honeymoon is certainly over at this point. Also over now, or ended, I should mention, for now anyway, are the states of emergency in Badger and Trepassey, as well as the boil water order that was in place in Harbour Grace. That's been lifted, so some positives there. And let's see, and later today, the Prime Minister is expected to announce the feds are pulling the plug on their electric vehicle sales mandates and instead bringing back rebates and trying to kickstart that industry again after, everybody just took a breath and sort of the market seemed to be cooling on the whole electric vehicle situation. And of course, $1 billion infrastructure fund apparently coming as well. So all coming just a couple of weeks after the trade deal made with China for the import of said electric vehicles. So don't have all the details yet, so because it hasn't been formally announced yet. This is all early reports we're getting from sources in the know. So you can be sure it'll be along those lines. So I'll leave that there for now until it's official. All part of apparently a new national automotive strategy that the federal government is putting forward. And of course, the news coming out of Alberta continues to be eyebrow-raising, I guess, shall we say. The Alberta Premier now, Daniel Smith, is saying that the province may withhold funding for judges unless they have more input in how they're chosen. So, come again? If this is sounding a little bit too familiar, south of the border, you're not alone. I mean, it's not entirely new. Premier Smith has referred to this, sort of peripherally in the past, but not just under her breath anymore. And there's some suggestion it may be her way of placating the separatist movement, which we know is gaining a little bit of traction, or at least certainly in media circles from that province. Of course, after learning that reps of the so-called Alberta Prosperity Project, which is the party under that umbrella, met several times with U.S. State Department officials, although the U.S. says it was very, high level and not too much into the weeds. But on the same token, more reports that there was almost reportedly a $500 billion credit structure dangled out there upon, quote, achieving independence. So these ideas by the Alberta Premier seen as, trying to show separatists, some people think just that, things can improve, please don't leave, doing her part for national unity while trying to deal with separatism in her province, of course, as Quebec has dealt with for years and years and years on end there. So that's all we need, 2 more provinces looking at hightailing it when we're really trying to focus on one hand, the other part of coming together as a country in national unity, as we saw Pierre Poilievre and Prime Minister Carney meeting yesterday on that. Not a lot to say afterwards, but, the question being there whether or not the partisan politics can be put aside in the interests of national unity. And speaking of the U.S., of course, they're going to pull out now 700 of those ICE agents from Minneapolis, and the ones staying will have body cams. And now we learn that ICE actually has 5 offices here in Canada, Immigration and Customs offices, in Canadian cities, not in this province, but in the bigger centres. But they also have them in about 90 other countries, we've learned now, around the world. And these offices, they're staffed with officers, with staff that they don't do searches, they don't do arrests, they're not armed, apparently. More or less, they do the kind of grind work in other countries, trying to prevent the wrong people from entering the U.S. from those countries. So they have those offices, satellite offices, whatever you want to call them, much like they'll be on the ground in Italy for the Olympics, as we well know. And on that note, Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand is going to Denmark and Greenland and actually opening a consulate in the capital of Nuuk in Greenland. Of course, that's all in the wake of course, in the recent blow-up over Trump teasing that the U.S. had, needed, wanted, must have Greenland to protect the homeland. And actually, Minister Anand was in Washington yesterday for meetings of dozens of ministers of other countries on the topic of critical minerals. And the states signed deals with several countries, including Mexico, but not Canada. These were pitched as preferential places to do business on that front for critical minerals, but nothing coming out of it for Canada. Minister Anand saying that, there's nothing really to be read into that, only that Canada will only sign a deal that works for Canada. And we know we have the minerals, especially even in our backyard in Labrador. So some, again, eyebrows raised that nothing came out of that for Canada. But again, we're treading carefully and choosing wisely, let's hope. Our ministers and our federal government is on behalf of that. And let's see, just a few other quick ones. As a member of a former newspaper family, the slashing of jobs at the Washington Post, that one hurts on a personal level, very much so. That continues to happen south of the border. The Washington Post, of course, the flagship. Came to my attention, of course, in the Nixon years, when, of course, Deep Throat broke the Watergate scandal and Nixon had to resign and yada, yada, yada. And that's going into the weeds, but you know what I said there. But the Washington Post, one of the most, revered and flagship newspapers of, independent, used to be. That's really shocking as well. And I also see yesterday when Nova Scotia signed a deal with Massachusetts for the export of wind power. Lots of meat on that bone, if you prefer, as well. And not sure if you're following the disappearance of the mother of the Today Show host, Savannah Guthrie. That one is really, I think there's more than 100 officers now on that case. There's some issues with video cameras around the house in Arizona where she lived. She disappeared. They're treating it as an abduction. And now there's reports out there of ransom notes and that sort of thing. That's certainly getting a lot of traction in the United States. A real mystery there. It's a lot of questions about the video cameras and why it's taken so long to be able to get good footage and that sort of thing. And all kinds of different reports, of course, when it comes out, when you're not getting, anything of substance from the federal authorities or law enforcement with regard to the investigation, you're going to see these sort of leaks of the kind of tips or the kind of leads that they have on this case. And they've said they don't really want to get into specifics because, they can get a lot of leads and a lot of tips. You can only imagine whether if there are crank calls or crank reports, or they got to follow up on everything. And right now, there are suggestions that there's a ransom note, and even the family, Savannah Guthrie herself, has spoken out, pleading with anyone if they have her mother to just do the right thing. And it's a really troubling case back there. And again, lots of traction in the U.S. media on that one. All right, Dave, I could go on, but as I mentioned, if I ever have a caller, I'm going right to that caller. So let's take a quick break, and let's see. We got Mike in the queue, going to be talking about dirty water right after the break. All right, let's get the show going today for Thursday on line one. Michael, you're on the air.
Hi, it's Michael Joy calling. I'm renting apartments here in St. John's. I've been having troubles with my water since I moved in. I can't take a shower. I end up throwing up from the smell. I can't wash my dishes. Can't wash my floor. I had Jim Dean flush out the pipes, but that didn't work. I've been in the hospital once for my water. I'm losing weight. People in this apartment building, they won't speak up because they're afraid they might get kicked out.
Michael, that's not fit, literally and figuratively speaking. Okay, well, first of all, where are you? Are you in St. John's?
Yes, sir, Mount Pleasant Avenue.
Pleasant Avenue, okay. They're just off Cashin and Campbell, right?
Yes.
Campbell Avenue, that area. So that's Ward 2. So you're first, I guess. You mentioned Jim Din. You mean the NDP leader, Jim Din, eh?
Yeah.
Jim's been in, so he's aware of the situation. Have you had any contact with your councillor, Brenda Halley?
I don't know who the councillor is. I'm not from St. John's. I'm from Happy Valley, Gooseberry.
Okay, there you go. All right, so I think you're Ward 2, and Brenda Halley, I believe, is your councillor. So Brenda, in the short period of time that she has been on council, has certainly been responsive, and there's a reason why she polled so well. But she's been responsive, and she's on top of things. So I'm sure somebody will be passing on the mention. Anyone gets their name, shout out on an open line. Usually somebody will give them a holler if they're not listening themselves. So that's another avenue, no pun intended. So where is this a privately owned? Is it housing? What's the situation with the ownership of the
private renting?
Okay.
It used to be an old folks' home.
Right on. And so, have you any contact with them and any response to them? First of all, Michael, how long has it been going on?
It's been going on since I moved in here last year. It's just been my second year here.
Okay, and how many people are in the building roughly? So it's a
There's roughly 100 apartments in all 3 buildings put together.
Okay. All right. And other people, do you guys speak to each other about this? Is it not confined to one unit, I wouldn't say?
I've been speaking to some people here in the building. They told me the water's not fit to drink. It smells really bad. The old people won't drink it because it's not fit for old people.
And we're right in the middle of St. John's, and it sounds like, I mean, of course, this sounds specific to the building. Are other people in the, so, you know, I mean, getting sick as you did, and you say you were hospitalized because of the water?
Because of the water, yeah.
All right. Well, Mike, we got to get something done about that. It shouldn't be the case in the, you know, whether or not anywhere really, but let alone in the middle of Metro St. John's and a privately operated building. You know, I mean, we can. I'm not sure if it matters so much, but I mean, we can always. There's no harm in mentioning the name of the building if you want to put it out there, and maybe you can get some movement. Have you had any kind of communication with the owners of the building and the people responsible for your unit?
The building's called Killam Apartments. I had the managers come here once, and they said they couldn't smell nothing. They're telling lies right to my face.
How long ago was that?
That was last year.
Okay, so when was the last time you had contact with them?
They won't contact me. They promised me a plumber 3 weeks, so no plumber come.
And it's not just your unit, though, or you're hearing you're not alone, obviously.
It's all 3 buildings, A, B, and C. It's all 3 of them. Nobody will speak up because they're afraid to get kicked out.
Boy, I tell you, if my water smelt and was sending me to the hospital, I'd be speaking up, whether or not, one way or another. But I know what you're saying. I hear you. I mean, I
try to get the water tested here in St. John's. They won't test it unless it's well water.
Well, let's see. I think your counselor might be able to help you out here. That's not going to be allowed to go on if that's the case. And you say the last time they came in and had a sniff and didn't smell anything was when?
Last summer.
Last summer. So you've been dealing with this since last summer after having them in, and everybody in those buildings has been dealing with that since last summer?
Everybody in the building has been here almost 20 years, and they've been having the same problems.
That's an awful long time for something that serious to be going on without any kind of action or no one speaking up. So we'll have to get to the bottom of it one way or another. It is out there, and I can't thank you enough for this. Is exactly what I mentioned off the top. You know, there are topics out there, things out there on people's minds. It's not just because I don't bring something up. Something as important to this needs to be brought to the fore. So, yeah, well, I've got Brenda Halley's number here if you like. I can give you that directly, her office.
I'm going to have to find my pin because I only got one pin.
No worries. Yep. If you don't have one handy, we can call you back, and Dave's got your number there.
Yeah, you're going to have to call back because I'm going to have to ask one of the neighbors for a pin.
No worries at all. All right, so Dave's got your number. Just go on hold. Dave will give you the number to Brenda, and make sure you have it so you can give her a shout. And that's one start. I mean, that's the counselor. That's responsibility to see if you can get some movement there. And in the meantime, I'm sure Jim Din, if he's been by, he's probably, I know his staff will be listening as well. If they have any information they can share on where this is going and why it's gone on for so long, we're open to that call as well. Michael, I wish you nothing but the best. Hang on there on hold, and Dave will get you that phone number, and keep us posted on what happens, okay? All right, that's Michael there with that issue in Center of St. John's. Dave, go right to number 2. Yep. Go to line 2, and Joe, you're on the air.
Good morning, Brian.
Morning, sir. How are you?
Good. How's yourself?
It's Thursday.
Yes, a nice sunny day.
It is. It's a beautiful day, and the glass is half full.
Brian, I'm not going to take much of your time.
No, but go on.
I know you got a lot of more callers, right? I'm calling about the GST. Are we going to get one of them one-time deal GST or something?
Well, there's a couple of changes that the federal government has been changing, shall we say. So it's called the Canada Groceries and Essentials Benefit. And so starting in July, the payments will go up by 25%. So if you're already getting the GST, that check that you are getting will be 25% more for the next 5 years. So the quarterly payments, right? We get them 4 times a year. That'll go up by 25%. So you can do the math on that, 0.25 on the calculator. And there's also going to be a one-time, they say a 50% top-up. So again, that whatever check you were getting in the next check that you would get, there'll be a 50% top-up. So you'll get twice. Well, it is what it is. 50% top-up of the normal check that you would get as well. And that's just a one-time. So those are the two main.
And when will we get that, Brian?
June and July. So
June
your next.
and July.
Yep. So your next check, the next one that comes in June, that's expected in June, that quarterly GST check, that will be 50% more than your normal check. And then the following month, in July, you won't get another check, but as of July, the next check after that, you'll be getting 25% more than you normally would. So next check that you're going to get is likely in June. That'll have a nice bump to it. And then after that, your quarterly checks will all be 25% more than they have been.
The next check we get, Brian, is in April.
Let's see, April. Well, yeah, but this is starting in June. These changes.
Oh, starting in June, is
Yes,
it?
yes. So it stays the same for April. It's going to take a while. I mean, the administrative side of things with the federal government and all the inputs that they have to make these changes so that it all works smoothly and everybody gets what they are entitled to. That will take a little while, so that's not going to happen right away, and that's why that's why it would take a little extra for them to get the administrative side of that done. And so the first check that you'll see that increase will be in June, not April.
Yes. Because I was talking to Patty there about a couple of months ago, eh?
Yep.
And we was told to receive a $1,551 check, but we did not receive it, seniors.
Okay, now I can't speak for, I wouldn't have probably heard it because I'm usually out covering something, but I can't speak to what that was about. I do know that, well, for seniors, that would be a whole other kettle. I mean, that's a different category. And everybody's situation differs depending on what you're entitled to, right? Depending on your income, depending on your tax return. Just generally, what was your circumstance, and can you explain what it was that Patty had mentioned to you you're getting and why you're getting it?
When I filed my taxes, I filed $25,000 while I'm a senior, right?
Right.
So Patty told me I was entitled to that $1,551, and we were going to receive it sometime in October after the GST.
Boy, I'll
At
tell
least
you.
it was in the budget, eh?
If there's one thing that I have not had time to get up on are all the different availability benefits that are out there for seniors. Because, again, there's so many different pots of money going on, provincially and federally. I can't seem to... Jeez. What, well, I mean, tell me again, what information did he give you? You're supposed to get it when?
With our GST, right after our GST in October.
I don't think it would have... okay, so that's going back to then.
Not October, January.
Okay. I mean, there's an old age security, you know, there's a 727 plus 800. That brings you up to about 1527. And that's an old age security seniors benefit, federal seniors benefit. And that's supposed to be a monthly benefit. That's about $1,500. That's supposed to be coming in. The guaranteed income supplement for low income people on seniors, 65 plus. There is that. Then there's the additional supports. I think there's the allowance for people 60 to 64. Geez, there's so many different pots of money that I have to get caught up on because I'm getting close to that age myself.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense to you, though, Joe? That's the number that looks like it might be what Pat was out of, 727 plus 800. That's all I can find here, but I'm not sure what Patty would have been referred to at that moment, at that time. And that's going to be a dynamic that continues with the show for a little while. until there's something more permanently into it, so we can keep track of like former calls that we've had, because it's hard for me to refer to anything. I mean, there's no way I can know exactly what was being discussed between you guys and what you might be eligible for individually, you know?
Yes.
So,
well, okay, Brian. Bye. Have a nice day.
Well, yeah, Joe, I would say this, though. I mean, as I said to the former caller, you know, there's plenty of help out there for you like that if you need to get down to the basics of it, whether it's your MP or MHA or who can fill you in and just make sure that you are getting what you are entitled to. Who does your taxes for you?
Just an ordinary next-door neighbor.
Okay, and do they do it every year for you? Do you have a regular person? Or
Yes.
Okay, well, listen.
Every year.
Well, you know what? No one would know better than that person who files your taxes for you every year. So as much as Open Line can be an incredible, you know, benefit, and no matter what I say or anyone says, or Patty would have said on this show, the person who would have the more intricate knowledge of your particular situation, what you're entitled to, the benefits, the credits, and your tax return, that's the person who does that tax return. They would know better than anyone what you're entitled to. So, and it's tax time, unfortunately.
Okay, then, Brian. Thanks a lot.
All right, Joe. Appreciate the call. Keep us posted. Let us know if everything works out for you and you get your money that you deserves.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Okay, sir.
Okay, take care.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.
All right, Dave, let's take that break right on the 9:30. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the show for this Thursday. Let's go right to line number 2. And Dean, you're on the air. Good morning, Dean. Dean there, Dave? Dan. I have Dean on my screen. Dan, sorry. Dan, you're on the air.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Sorry about that. One letter off. That's why you weren't talking. Of course, if it's not your name, you're not going to answer, are you?
No.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, there. First time talking to you, actually. No, I just wanted to give just a small little brief comment on that man was calling about his apartment building there.
Yeah.
I'm not with the same company, but I mean, I went to apartment building late game, and I had that situation the past couple of years, and I can sort of relate to what the man was saying, you know, but I think I had a water problem, I had leaks in my roof from that starting off my building, draft the windows, and the only thing that I was just calling about is just that the only time, you know, not mentioning the landlords are there, but the only time they really look into getting something done is when they know when they jack up the rent or when they hand it out for the gouge for money. That's the only time they find they look into getting something done, and even lend, they don't even do it.
Yeah, I've always said.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? You know, like it doesn't make any sense. You don't do anything for nobody until they basically, when they know the first of the month comes up, they hand it out for the money. Then they want to get something done, or they won't even do it. Then even then, people are living in fear and dumps, man. It's unbelievable. And the landlords are gouging people for it. That's the worst of it. You know, and the rent is high in these apartment buildings, and the people can't afford it. And they know that they got you. So what are you doing to the people? And like the man said, you know, people are afraid to speak up and saying it because they're afraid to get evicted. That's sad.
It's sad and it's real. You're absolutely right. The pressure today is greater than ever not to speak up, because, you know, if you have a spot, you are in a spot, you've been there for a little while, the last thing you want to do is move in the middle of winter. You know, you can be up in a rock and a hard place, no question. And I've always said, and this isn't specific to any landlords, but I've always said the problem with the word landlord is the Lord part. Kind of gives you, it feels like it gives them this almighty, and again, not tarring everybody with the same brush, but we know it. And the ones out there who are listening, they know who they are. You know, they're going to force the hand, and I can see it. You're in a spot, even if you have children, if you have pets, you have any extenuating circumstances, you're a smoker. You know, it gets tougher and tougher. You check the boxes, and it gets tougher and tougher to stay in that spot. And you're right, you can't risk it. You might not get kicked out, but you might. And they might make life hard for you. So, and again, if you've got housing, you're in a very rarefied era these days because, you know, it's tough. The rent is tough. Just getting a spot is tough. And finding either a reliable landlord, or even on the other side, landlords trying to find reliable renters who are, you know, not going to beat the crap out of the place. So You know, it's more of a crunch and a tighter squeeze than it's ever been. Everybody is aware the housing has been an issue for years. Dan, where were you living? Were you also in St. John's in an apartment building?
I've been in St. John's, so yes, I'm in the apartment building. And again, I've been in the city here, but I went Northview.
Okay. And how is it there now?
It's still, you know, you're still up in the air a bit there, right?
Yeah, Northview now. That's around the same neck of the woods, isn't it? They're off...
That's off of Freshwater Road.
Yeah, right. Yeah, same area. Yeah, the apartment building. But you're good there now? Like that building is everything copacetic?
I don't know. People are still saying stuff, but, you know, only to the super and blah, 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 you know, and then he only just says, call the building and tell them about this, you know, and then, of course, you know, they get saw or whatever about that when nobody calls them. So, like I said again, you know, they're only there for the money part of it, and like I say, that's all they're for, all they're worried about. That's all they're worried about when it's coming time for the money. That's all they're worried about, gouging people.
Yeah, I mentioned before. Go ahead, sorry.
But like I said, when it comes to people living in those apartment buildings and being comfortable and being this, being that, it's not right what they're doing too much. It's really not.
Yeah, they can hold it over your head. There's no question. Even if they don't say anything or don't, you know, come right out and say anything, you know that. And I get it. Like it's certainly not lost on me. That speaking of,
and one last thing, you know, and when them landlords that own the buildings, you know, like a lot of them, you know, they know they got you, you know, and you know they don't mind, you know, where you want to go basically. I mean, at a certain age of your life too, you know, like, you know, you're like, okay, you know, he or she not going to go nowhere at that age. No, they're going to stay there and put up with it. But it's still not right. I mean, they're breathing all that stuff, mold, this or that, or draft the windows, or Saudis, or drink that dirty water, and I mean, you know, like, it's not right. But where they're living to, are they going to the situation? No. So watch somebody else go to it.
I know. And
so you are right, Brian. You know, like that man got to look into more than what he's doing. Because I'm telling you right now, buddy, that was me again. Like you just heard yourself, it wasn't me. Because it's hard. It's harder than the landlords too.
Yeah, and I mean, look, if it sends you end up in hospital because your water. I mean, that's just not, as I said, is not fit. But you're absolutely right, and the situation where it works both ways. I mean, there is a landlord tendencies. The board is there to take complaints and all that thing. But again, once you go down that road, you know, is it worth it? Ultimately, you're right. People will put up with a lot of you know what. If it's at risk of losing the most important thing you have in your life right now, which is a roof over your head.
Yeah, that's right. But I agree with you, man. I agree with you. But it's sad, though, you know. It's sad.
It is. It's a never-ending, as I said, right? The minute they named him, the minute they put the word Lord in that title, I always felt that. If
they think, you know, okay, be whooped, you know, obviously they get the power.
Yeah. But look, and that's not all. And again, I know lots of landlords that are good landlords, obviously. It works.
Oh, yeah, so that's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm saying. It's good and bad. You can't make them with the same paintbrush. But all these time-building ones, they're wicked.
Yeah.
They're wicked.
But they also have, you know, that issue with you have so many different people in one facility and all the different stuff they're dealing with, especially these days. And if, you know, I mean, the different dependencies and this, I mean, look no further than what can happen in an apartment building than what happened before Christmas over there off Forbes Street, off Columbus Drive. I'm just trying to Anspatch, right on the corner there, the apartment building where the man was charged with 3 counts of attempted murder. You know, there's a lot of dynamics to if, you know, it's kind of like, so you want to be a landlord or so you want to be. It's not for the faint of heart either. They have to put up with a lot. And so...
I'm sure they do. Sir. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure they do. You know, I'm sure they do have to put up with a lot of stuff. But still, you know, in the meantime, you know, they still should be looking after their people more than they are.
Yeah, the basics, right? Good water.
Yeah, but...
The heat's working.
Yes.
You know...
Yes. At least that's all.
Yeah, right. I mean, the other stuff is kind of subjective, and it's one-offs, and who knows? There's always back and forth between, you know, disputes between landlords and tenants aren't unusual, to say the least. But, yeah, give me the basics at the very least, you know. The wind's not flicking in through a drafty window, or the doors work, the locks work, the water works, you know. The appliances, whatever was in the lease or the contract works.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Oh, boy, well, good enough, buddy. Well, that's what I want to say, my friend.
Yeah, Dan, I appreciate the call. And look, more of these. We know what's going on out there. At least we can draw some attention to it. The one-offs, maybe we can get some action on some of these things, whether it's with Michael's apartment building or anyone else who, like you said and Mike have mentioned, are really loath to call and complain about these things for fear of losing where they are. So losing their spot.
And I find too, sir, get me wrong, like, a lot of these apartment buildings too, the poor souls are in these apartment buildings, are low-income families, and again, they're afraid to lose their apartments.
Yeah. It's a risk. Yeah, it's too big a risk. I get it. But by the same token, there's got to be like a sweet spot there where, okay, I'll put up with it, but it can't be unreasonable. And that's where that's where councillors and representatives, local representatives, MHAs, that's where they come in. And so, people who have those issues, you can quietly go to them and they will lobby on your behalf or at least look into it for you. And maybe you can keep some level of anonymity when that happens, and not have to have your name out there. But people like yourself and Michael who go through the trouble and want to bring it right to the fore on this program, that is no question the quickest way to get people's attention. No question.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I guess one more question, Bob, before I go. Jim Dean, he's really good.
Oh, absolutely.
He's really good. He's really a good person having this on.
Yep. I heard a caller last night. I think I heard one, and it's the only call I've ever heard, where someone took a strip off Jim last week, I think, on the program. And I just listening peripherally. I was in and out. But I did hear it, and it really raised my eyebrow, because I haven't heard a bad word about Jim in my entire career as a journalist, let alone as in his days as a teacher and as president of the Newfoundland Labrador Teachers Association. Jim's always been great. He tells it like it is. He comes and he come for that position of the NDP, never been elected, so you don't really, I won't say you can make promises that you may not have to keep because the odds of getting elected, but it's really not that. The NDP has always been our social conscience.
They always been, Brian. Something, Brian, and like I said, and I wish to God that he did have to get in. Like I said, I voted for him last year, and I always do, and I always will. Jim Dean, as long as he's in, I'll always vote for him. He's a good man.
That's a good slogan. As long as he's in, it's Jim Dean.
Oh, guaranteed. Number one, he is.
I'm going to claim that one for his election signs next time around.
Oh, yes. Yeah. All right, Robert, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Dan, I equally so. Thanks very much. Have a good day.
You too, my friend.
All right, be good. Take care.
You too. Bye.
All right, Dave, right on that break. Let's take the break, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to the program. I'm going to welcome into the studio now our VOCM News assignment editor, but putting on his reporter's hat right now to join me for a little chat about the upcoming news conference this afternoon with Premier Tony Wakeham. Going to talk about the government's first 100 days in office. Mr. Richard Duggan. Ricky, how's it going?
I'm doing good, Brian. How are you doing?
Thanks for good. As you can imagine, as we've all seen. Fun times. So you're going to head on over to Confederation Building this afternoon. This is kind of a common thing for first governments to come up and have a chat about what they've accomplished in their first 100 days or plan to, and what they've found and all that sort of stuff. It should be pretty sweeping, high-level newser. What are you expecting?
Yeah, so I think in terms of what we're expecting today, you really got to look at some of the main commitments from government in the last provincial election, right? Commitments around crime reduction, commitments around healthcare, and some of the other things that the Wakeham government really pushed for in the last election. So I think those will be the jumping off points in terms of, what has been done in the last 100 days, right? So I think there's been a lot of questions that have been circulating around in terms of, okay, where are we in terms of, for example, the reduction on reliance of travel nurses? We know that Premier Wakeham has met with the Registered Nurses Union, and we've heard a couple of times that work is ongoing on that. So questions around where does that stand, for example? Questions around the MOU, right? Because we know that situation has kind of been at a standstill now as they're doing their independent review. But where are we going from here, and what's the plan once we get past April, and where does all of that situation stand? So some of those are sort of the underlying questions. Where are we, for example, with some of these commitments that they made around staffing up RCMP detachments around the province? Where does all of that stand? And then we can also look at some of the comments that were made even, say, last week when the Premier was in Ottawa, and he took questions about this gun buyback program. And he had one of the questions that one of the reporters posed was, what about the police forces in Newfoundland and Labrador? Are they going to be actively confiscating these guns or enforcing these laws? And the Premier said, well, I'm going to have conversations with those police forces about that. So where does all of that stand, right? So if you want to look back at what was happening during the last election, there's about 1 million questions that we could pose in terms of some of these promises and things that have been said since. So you're right, it's a really large umbrella. So we'll see now if this afternoon there's any specific progress that he wants to highlight, or how all that is going to roll out.
I'm glad you mentioned the word specifics because, in my humble opinion, it's pretty vague to date. I mean, the vagaries around different things, whether it's the MOU, whether it's how you fulfill the promise of those 3 pillars that they talked about: the better healthcare, lower taxes, safer communities, referring to justice and public safety. So I guess I'm wondering, will we get any closer to understanding how they do all this without, say, hundreds of millions of dollars that would have come right away with the signing of the MOU in April. Without that, there's always that suggestion. There's been those talk out there and some criticism and some suggestion by the pundits that, a lot of these initiatives, all these changes we're seeing now, whether it's the elimination of the Kenmount Crossing Hospital, whether or not different ways that they've been looking at reducing costs, was all in with the idea in mind that the MOU would not happen. And so now they're into this, tighter times budget, which we know is $1 billion deficit and $20 billion debt. Mm-hmm. So with those 2 things in mind, it'll be interesting to see how he talks about, again, how he does all the things that he wants to do without raising taxes and by not signing the MOU. Exactly,
and that was one of the things that we looked at when the election campaign was happening, in terms of, okay, if you tally up the cost of all of these promises, the looks at new ferries and staffing up the RCMP detachments and the healthcare promises, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. But how do you make that work with a deficit, right? And some of that, hopefully we'll get a little bit of clarity on today. I think, what we also have to keep in mind is that government right now is preparing for their budget, right? And we know that the budget typically comes out in April, so there won't be a whole lot in terms of specifics, I don't imagine, until we really get that document now in April in terms of where they're going to be going. But I think the hope from a lot of people today is that we'll get indications of where things are heading, if nothing else.
And we just noticed before you came in here that on top of this, now this is happening this afternoon, but the province issued a news release on the National Pharmacare Program, and curious as to why Newfoundland and Labrador is still remaining outside that framework. What do we know about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you recall, last week at when the Premier was in Ottawa, he did make a comment that said that he's more than willing to sign on to the National Pharmacare Program. And now this morning, just before I came on the air here, government sent out a news release that's essentially saying that they're calling for the federal government to engage in meaningful negotiations around the National Pharmacare Program. And I had to look down through this statement, and it says that the Premier sent letters, had a discussion with the federal health minister back in November. He sent letters to the Prime Minister on this as well. So the sense that I'm getting from this statement that was released is that they're saying the ball is in the federal government's court, and they're calling for them to sort of come to the table on this. We know that there have been several groups that have been calling for government to get on board with the National Pharmacare Program because of what that would mean for people who have diabetes, and also for people who are in need of contraceptives, because that would be covered under this as well. So I would imagine that now at 1:30 when we speak with the Premier, that pharmacare will come up, and what I'm hoping to sort of get answers on is what is the roadblock here, because we've heard from the federal government that have said we're willing to negotiate with the provinces, and now we're hearing from the provincial government saying Ottawa needs to come to the table. So what are the roadblocks here that are, I guess, preventing this from happening? So that's another question now heading into this in terms of where does all this stand and why isn't this moving?
Yeah, look, and that one's so into the weeds because, again, there seems to be, when you have that conflict from what the feds are saying, and they have signed agreements with other jurisdictions, we know. So what exactly the tangle home, maybe we can get some more specifics on that. Not much time left, Ricky. I do want to, on the top of everybody's mind is how and what is happening with the Churchill Falls MOU. And it's worth, I know it's, there may even be a bit of eye rolling, but given the significance of it, there shouldn't be any at this point because we are really into the crux of the time, like what's going to happen, whether it's the dynamic politically in Quebec, and we know that the Premier met with Francois Legault last week, and apparently they spoke about this. So, and of course, when you have the separatist government, most likely, now of course we've seen polls flip before, but the consensus seems to be that that's the way it's going, and they will be out. And then the thought that I think the Premier said, there's been talk about renegotiating areas of it. If it's not good enough for Newfoundland, we're going to work on that. And then they've said, well, is it going to get any easier dealing with a separatist government than it was dealing with Francois Legault and a deal that was already signed? So I wonder, will he get into any of that, and whether or not he has formulated what the question would be. And I won't say if a referendum, because the Premier has continued to say there will be a referendum. So I wonder, I asked him about 3 weeks ago whether or not he's thought about the question. He said no, hasn't given it any thought. There's been no suggestion of what the question would be if there was a referendum on the MOU. So maybe, I don't know. You think that question will come up today?
I think that'll definitely come up today because this is one of the biggest topics right now is this MOU. And it's interesting that you bring up your comments, the comments that you got from the Premier a few weeks ago, because just before Christmas I had a sit-down interview with the Premier and I got those same answers in terms of, well, we can't think about the question for the referendum because we don't have the results of this independent review yet. So everything is sort of hinging on this independent review, and it seems like everything is sort of ground to a halt with it. But some of the questions that I've heard from people in talking about this over the last few months is, okay, we do all that, but there's massive timeline. Like if you want to renegotiate sections of a massive contract like this, how long does that take? How long? Because referendums are both timely and costly. Yeah. So, how far will that push the timeline back, right? I've heard some people suggest, we'll be well into 2027 before we get the ball moving and some of those things, if, those are the timelines that we're working with. So it'll be interesting to see how the Premier chooses to address some of those questions today. You're absolutely right. And to see, because the last thing that we heard was that we're still waiting for the end of April to get this review, and nothing else is really moving until then. Yeah, and it's interesting on that last thing on that question front. You can't imagine that it'll be the most intricate, complicated question. It's got to be simple. It's got to be straightforward. It's ultimately a yes or a no. It seems like it should be, unless we're all going to get copies of the entire contract and given 2 months to read over it and get our own independent people to look at. A lot of this is so high level that it has to be a straightforward question, and you would think that it could just be a yes or no, because ultimately, we're in the hands of the government. They're the ones who hold the strings. They're the ones in the closed-door negotiations. So do you like it or not? I can't imagine it'll be any tangier than that. Ricky Duggan, thanks so much, Richard, for coming in and finding a few minutes. I know you're not busy back there in your office. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. Right. We'll keep an eye on your reporting from the news conference this afternoon. All right. Thanks, Brian. Great. Thanks. It's Richard Duggan, our newsroom, VOCM newsroom assignment editor / reporter / jack of all trades. Minute over the news. Sorry about that, Dave. Let's take the news and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. Got a few emails, of course, that discussion earlier that I had with Mike and Dan regarding apartment buildings, landlords, issues on both ends. And got one email from a woman. She said she was just shopping, and when she got back in the car, she just heard the tail end of the conversation and has a son in that area around Mount Pleasant Avenue. She wasn't sure if we were talking about the same building, but suffice to say, where she didn't hear most of the conversation, she did know the gist of it. And I'd say, as much as we would love for you to call, I can appreciate you probably couldn't at the time, because we prefer the callers over emailers, but we understand it's not always possible. But she does say that, unfortunately, quote unquote, people are afraid to complain about anything, unfortunately, given that, as I mentioned to Dan and the others, that the roof over your head is probably the most important thing for all of us right now, and roofs over heads
are not easy to come by or keep. And when you have one, you want to keep it, needless to say, especially when it's minus 10, minus 15 wind chill. And this time of year. So welcome all of your callers on that. I know there are issues out there. I've covered them over my years covering the city council alone and hearing them brought right to the fore by councillors, around the horseshoe table there down at the bunker in City Hall, but also in the courts. And I have noticed personally, despite, some of the issues with the courts right now as far as civil issues and traffic court and all that, these other cases with breaches of acts and people not living up to the spirit of the agreement, whether it's the contract or whether it's, not living up to the spirit of it, and not just the spirit of it, but the actual wording of it in some cases. And if you go through the docket, as it's online there, the provincial court docket, you can scroll through any time and see the charges. If you just do that little find on the page of breaches of act, and so many of them are involving property, landlords, complaints, landlords versus tenants and all that sort of thing, and the city actually taking some of them to task and taking them to court. They're doing the best they can, but of course staff is an issue. We know that they were going to hire, I believe, more this year. The city hired, I think, 1 or 2 more inspectors and that sort of thing to try to get in there. But of course, when it's held up in the courts and there is no court to bring some of them to, that can be a problem as well. So it all backlogs after that. So we're hoping that can get worked out pretty soon. Those courts, including number 7, and access to the courts is still restricted for people going down for various matters, whether it's criminal or traffic court. If you're in criminal court, then you can't get into number 7 anymore in the media, but you can call ahead and you can get access that way. And what was the other one I had here, Dave? I had a second one regarding that. I'm trying to call it up here now. Oh, I love it when the computer freezes right when I don't need it to. More callers, people talking about how caller and so lots of emailers, but we're always looking for the callers first as opposed to the emailers. Another caller says, I always travel left lane on the TCH in NL due to the moose hazard. Even if no traffic, the left lane gives me the ability to avoid moose to the left or right and avoid moose to jump onto the CCH right side of the right lane. Now that's in reference, of course, to traveling in the right or left lane. Some discussion which blew up yesterday after the regurgitated discussion over passing lanes on the outer ring, but also on the Trans-Canada, which most people consider the ORR as part of the Trans-Canada course because it says it's mile 1 right back to Logie Bay. But we're not going to go down that road unless you want to, and the call and the lines are open for that discussion, of course. But I do that as well to that emailer, staying as close as I can to the middle of the road to avoid anything that might jump up from the shoulder. All right, let's take the caller on line 1. Paul, you're on the air.
Hi, good morning, Brian.
Morning.
You're doing a good job, here, buddy. Is your name on the list now to be one of the potentials for the new job?
Not that I know of. Unless I put it there, maybe. I don't know. It's all very much up in the air, but it's I'll call myself the interim host for now. I'm here this week, next week, and then I take 2 weeks vacation. I won't tell you how much I'm looking forward to that.
Well, you do a good job, I'll tell you that.
I appreciate it.
You know who I used to remember? People like George McLaren.
Yes,
I'm really going back now. He used to be on at the nighttime show. I was going to ask a simple question before I get on to the topic.
Yes, but
the gals, has there ever been a full-time woman do the open line shows at all over the years? Like, I know they fill in, actually hire a female to do the job.
Well, Linda Swain, the one and only, the intrepid, the Jane of all trades, we shall say, and just a machine in the newsroom. She has hosted Nightline full time, but she also is here filling in just like I do. Had been just filling in for Paddy while he was here. So Linda's always been there, but we haven't had a full-time female host on Open Line. So, I mean, there's always that possibility as well.
I think it's time.
Well, I guess the applicants will determine that. I know we've got lots of applications from all walks of life. You never know. You just never know what's going to work, and you don't really know this show, I can tell you right away, Paul, until you get in the chair. Or I never sit in the chair, actually, because I I just can't do it. But I'm a stander. And until you get into studio and you realize, that people have some pretty deep concerns, they get pretty emotional about things. There are things that are so important to some. And as I mentioned off the top of the show today, you just can't touch on every topic that's on people's minds. I mean, we're not, as much as, Patty did an amazing job of going through so many issues and getting into the crux of them. On the fly before his show in his preambles, that's going to be a challenge to live up to too, all of it. I mean, there is not going to be, people need to own the show and make it their own too, right? So I'm looking forward to that and seeing how that all shakes out.
Well, the thing about open line here, I know, like in a lot of places on the mainland, they stick to one topic or two topic, and that's it.
Yeah.
But here, you guys got an open book for anyone can call in with their concerns. I think that's what makes your show so popular.
Yeah, that's absolutely the beauty of it. Paul, you hit the nail on the head there. It is absolutely one extreme to the other. And as I've mentioned before, you only, as listeners, you're really only hearing and seeing about, I don't know, I've said 10%, but it's probably close to, about 25 to 30% of the actual work for a host is the 3 hours on the air, because the rest of it is a full-time job keeping up, making sure you're up on everything at least a bit, and the bigger topics, making sure you're up on them more than a bit. As a matter of fact,
scenes. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
And
I was going to mention about my topic, my buddy, about the old go bus. I've noticed lately, over a period of time, you'll see the odd one going around at night with the headlight burnt out or something, and I'll call them up just to let them know. Of course, it's not the driver's fault that your headlight can go out, but according to the go bus, when you call them, they'll tell you, yeah, we check them before they go on the road, which I think is so-so. But the other day, there was one, Brian came on my road down here on Pasadena Crescent. He never turned on his signal lights to turn. He never even stopped at the stoplight. He went right out Pasadena, right out on cutting off a car on Calvin Avenue. I called in about that because, these are handicapped people that they're driving around. And they should always be aware of the lights to make sure that they're lit up at night. And certainly people driving like that. Now, the lady that came on the phone said she'd be checking the cameras. She asked me, did I know the the car number, but I couldn't see that from here. But she said, we'll check the cameras now and see what story is. It's not that I'm trying to get somebody in trouble, but it's common sense. You're driving people around like that. The vehicle should be well lit at night because that's dangerous, Brian.
100% agreed. As a matter of fact, I have on my street, there's a client of Go Bus right across the street. So, I see it coming all the time up and down my road. And I live downtown, pretty narrow road. And, again, I know what you're saying. You should be able to voice concerns, legitimate concerns, without worrying about offending the people at Go Bus. But, I will be totally honest. I have seen the odd Go Bus travel, in my opinion, a little excessively fast. And that's as far as I'll go. And especially on my narrow street, it surprises me sometimes. Sometimes the speed, and it kind of raises an eyebrow, and it kind of conflicts with the purpose of a go bus. When you think about the passengers on a go bus are, for the most part, a little more vulnerable physically in different ways, challenged.
Mentally, yeah.
Yes, whether it's physical, vision, hearing, intellectual, mental, neurological, everything they're dealing with. And you'd think it would be probably the most careful and safe ride in the city.
And not only that, I know someone who's on the go bus, and I'll go with her. I don't know what they call it, as an extra or something to help her.
Yeah.
And you get on that bus at the night, it's pitch black in the bus. Yeah. And I mentioned that to them, and they said, that's the norm. They say if they turn a light on, it might be distracting, but you think there'd be a light on inside the bus, Brian.
Yeah, they have my Metro buses.
I got to laugh sometimes.
They have my Metro buses, but when we talk about a service like this at the city office, a part of Metrobus, or the Go Bus, the accessible transit, we always welcome the other side to this, and any topic that comes up on Open Line, you know how it works, Paul. Once it gets mentioned and passed on. So I welcome anyone from the city who wants to just talk about the issues you've raised. I'd
love for somebody to go. Hopefully, now they're listening, or somebody who just reinforce it, because like I say, it may not seem like a big deal to have a headlight out, but it is at nighttime. And the way they're driving, like you say, you're not the only one who see them going a bit fast on the roads. I know they're busy. They're constantly picking up people. I know that. And I don't even know if I'd want their job, to be honest with you, because you know, you got to even point A to point B in a certain amount of time. I mean, it's not so much coming down on the driver. Maybe it's the company that needs to just crack down.
Yeah, and again, you nail on the head. I mean, the drivers have a lot on their plate. I've seen, as I said, the bus that comes by, I've seen the driver get out. He goes right to the front door. Yep. And the front door is not easy to get to. So they'll go right to the front door and help the person down and into and get stabilized and get comfortable, and then they move on. So look, it's the good with the bad. This is not a rip go bus service today.
Nope.
This is, again, a free opportunity. We all have the opportunity to talk about concerns we have. And as far as, the headlight, that's just one aspect of it. I mean, I assume, and, whether you're a big rig driver or a bus driver, you go around, you do your check, and you'll see the pilot do it in an aircraft.
That's right.
He wants to have a look at his vehicle for that day, or that aircraft, his aircraft for that day, and make sure everything is good to go, whether it's the side mirrors caked with ice or something. You want to make sure that before you get moving. All of those little things. So other than just the headlight, you hope they're doing that general check for everything around the bus. Do the lights, the usual checks, the indicators, all that stuff are working, because you're carrying some valuable cargo, right?
Yeah, and it's not like they haven't been in accidents before, because they have. Of course, I don't know who's to blame there, but anyway, my buddy, I just thought I'd call in and give my 2 cents on that this morning. Maybe somebody out there, like I said, I'm after calling in twice. I just hope they're listening and just not passing it off and throw it in the garbage as a complaint in the garbage,
No, absolutely.
Because it's important when you're dealing with people like that, my buddy.
I agree. And look, Paul, because of your call, listen, we'll put a shout out to the city. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the particular responsible for the Transportation Commission now, but we'll put it out anyway. People from the city are listening. Communications there are great. Thank you, Jackie. Shout out to Jackie. But we'll put it out to them and see. You mentioned you've called a couple of times, so let's see if we can get one call from them just to just talk generally about it and the challenges that come with that service. Because again, it's not a simple service. There are a lot of moving parts, shall we say, to say the least.
I appreciate your time, my friend. Take care of yourself, and like I say, you're doing a great job.
Thanks, Paul. I really appreciate it. Don't be a stranger.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, thanks again. All right, callers, we love them. A little past the break, Dave. Let's take that break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. Let's go to line number 2, and the former mayor of Burgeo, Alistair Han. You're on the air.
Good morning, Brian.
Morning, sir. How are you?
Not too bad. I'm getting older, and I suppose I should say I don't know why I do this, but like Flip Wilson says, the devil made me do it.
Do what? Wade into this particular issue that's affecting your town or your former town? Well, the town you used former be
National Marine Conservation Area. I'd like to say a few things about it, Brian. This National Marine Conservation Area, this all started when I was mayor. Now, I don't know how much you know about back that time, around about 2000, but Burgeo and me in particular was going like you don't know, from St. John's to Ottawa to you name it. I was going there trying to root out a quota for the fish plant here in Burgeo. And at one time we did root out a crab quota. It was exploratory. And it was well known that it was coming to Newfoundland and was designated for Burgeo. But, of course, when you get, and I don't mind saying it, the FFAW, they had a boat there waiting in the wings because they had a license. And, of course, when push came to shove, well, we won't be giving that to Burgeo. Why, we'll be keeping that for ourselves. Now, perhaps I'm going to have a lawyer call me after dinner and summons me to court. And if he do, he better be quick about it, because I'm getting old.
And we know the legal process is not a speedy proposition.
No. So I'm not worried.
And Alistair, I was going to say, Burgeo, I mean, listen, the moratorium killed your town like it killed so many coastal communities. And I think I heard the current mayor the other day just mentioning how the biggest employer in Burgeo right now is healthcare. And that's not a good omen.
Yes, and the biggest employer, if he got it thrown in with the healthcare, is daycare.
Yeah.
seniors living in their homes and depending on workers. But like I say, we were looking for just about everything back then to get this plant going, and got it going for a short while. I guess I'm more or less giving you a lot of my history here, Brian. I hope I'm not taking up too much time.
You are not at all. The floor is yours, Alistair.
Yeah. So anyway, we did our best there, and one night I was home, and I don't know if you knew a guy one time. He was a biologist, Dr. John Lean.
Oh, my goodness. I know his daughter. And, yes, I'm very familiar with Dr. Lean over the years.
And Dr. Lean, sir, and he used to spend some time in Burjo, and I got to know him. And I was home one night after coming back from Ottawa, in fact. And my phone rang, and this was Dr. John Lean. He said, Alistair, I've watched you on those merry-go-round trips, and they all seem to end up being very possible and so on and so on. And then he said, the bottom falls out of it. Well, he said, I've just got an idea. He said, I've been bunkering around. Now, anybody who knew Dr. John Lean, you know, Dr. John Lean would be just as comfortable going down in the Narrows and getting on board of a motorboat and coming up the coast of Burjo as he would getting in his car and coming here.
Get that right.
So John traveled this south coast, I'd say almost as much as me. But any event, he says, boy, you know, up on the mainland in Shawinigan, I think it was. I'm not sure. They're in Quebec anyway. They got this National Marine Conservation, a park, a national park, really. He said, and he explained it to me. And he said, "Would you be interested in trying for that?" Well, boy, I said, I don't understand enough about it. Well, he said, Can I drop up and meet with you? That's St. John's de Burjo, you know. Mm-hmm. I said, by all means. So he turns up, and we sat down that night. And by the time that we had a 40-ouncer of rye gone, the idea was getting better and better. But anyway, I took it to council. I'm not sure if Dr. Lean attended the meeting or not. Councils thought it was pretty good, so a proposal was made up and sent to the provincial government. Now, at that time, Brian, everybody in government had oil on the brain. If their ear went to the right, oil ran out of the right ear. If it went to the left, it ran out the other one. Anyway, no, we can't do that if he starts having a National Marine Conservation Area when he comes in here and strikes that big strike of billions and billions of barrels of oil. They won't be allowed to touch it. So the provincial government was out. Now, that was their excuse for getting out this time. And it lay dormant for year upon year until oil didn't get quite as attractive as it was then. That gets over, well, maybe we should try this thing again. So then, now I wasn't on council then, of course, Brian, but they got together and they formed a meeting, and next thing they formed a steering committee. And it was made up of the 5 nations, the First Nations, the town of Burjo, the provincial government, the federal government, and now I don't know if there's any more or not. I'm not sure of that now. So the thing gets moving, and it seems to be moving fairly good. The federal government put a fair sum of money there to get a feasibility study done. And we're cruising along, and of course, I believe there's only 5 of those areas designated for Canada, and I don't know what the other ones are, and I don't think they're all designated, but I know there's a couple have been put forward and have moved like a house on fire, and everything is going good. Anyway, the one gets started in Burjo, and that seemed to be going pretty good. But our big deterrent this time, one, has been the aquaculture. Now, here we are up in Burjo. about 80, 90 mile, I guess, from Arbor Breton. And down in the Arbor Breton area, the Niagara Peninsula, they're gone crazy over their aquaculture. And God bless them. I'm glad that Arbor Breton and Hermitage and that area got something to do. But remember, you can't always be thinking about yourself, and that there's another part of this coast that thinks that they should live too. So this has got moving, and it was still moving. There's a board there. I think they're quite competent people that's there, and I thought they've been consulting anybody who wanted to know something and was truly interested. If you wanted to know something other than to be asking something just to be an agitator, you would probably get a good answer. I don't know. And then our little park, Sandbanks Park, well, just as a spin-off from that, they were going to turn that into a national park. Now, from what I hear, the budget for Sandbanks Provincial Park is something like $150,000 a year for infrastructure. The rumors I heard that what the Parks Canada was looking at, that park would have been eligible for over $1 million. So you're talking a lot of money, Brian, and you're talking about a town that's on its knees, just as well to get out there and say it's on his knees. And of course, things comes along, you get to the national park, you're not going to be allowed to go berry picking. You're not going to be able to go lobster fishing. You're not going to be able to go jigging. I don't know. Those answers came from you don't know who. Then the people who are doing this have reassured them that the lobster fishery will continue and this and that and so on. So right out of the blue, I'll say Batman, that's the premier, flies in the midst of that, cancel that. Now he knows everything that have been carried on in Burgeo with regard to a national marine conservation, which is taking over 20 years, and he got all of that in 5 minutes. I pity the poor province of Quebec. If they try dealing with that expert, they'll lose every bit of electricity they got. And I know I'm making light and making fun in some cases. But this town of Burgeo used to have 12 months employment, and when it went, it all went. And Burgeo got hit harder than a lot of towns, Brian, for the very simple fact that our old-time fishermen had gotten out of the boats back in the 1943 and started depending on trawlers. So when the moratorium came, there was only a few that was still into the trawl fishing. So it was just a real kick between the legs for us. And the government carries on with us. If we were the last town in Newfoundland to get a highway. And sometimes you got to question whether that's really a highway. So I'm just come on here this morning because I won't get much more time to say it, and say that there are people in this town that have worked hard for a living, just as well to say migrated to Alberta when the moratorium came. And the only politician that I can say that ever stood by me in my 8 years as mayor was Bill Matthews. Yeah. That man was there day and night. He brought opportunities for having a CO reduction plant. And what happened there was one provincial NHA says, you put the CO factory in Burgeo, we're going to close Dildo. There was nothing, only obstacles, Brian.
Yeah, I recall that. I recall that whole situation, Alistair.
My friend, if I could lay it all out, the paper mill in Corner Brook would be operating forever just to get it all rolled down. And now to get, and I'm not on the committee, but hard-working people. And you had to put everything in, everybody's saying, well, going out of the fishery, all closed down. The fishery going to be all closed down. Well, this is a marine conservation area. But then there's a thing called a marine protection area, in which case they take stricter measures of closing areas down. Already, the Funk Island Bank has been identified as a closed area.
And Alistair, the government says they can't. They weren't able to strike the right balance. And I'm sorry, I got to get in on this because I'm way over the break here. And I would love, if you want to continue on with the chat after, all for it. I got to get to a break because we got to pay the bills. But the bottom line, they're saying they can't strike the right balance here, and that and they admit that there was some lack of consultation and collaboration. All of that there, Alistair. Only because I'm so far over the break. I don't know if you want to, I'm here tomorrow and I'm here all next week, but your perspective as the former mayor who was there through all of that and went through this with the whaleman, the one and only, the legend, John Lean, all of that perspective is so important to this discussion because we're only hearing the here right now as opposed to how this all happened in the past. And attempts were made to do this in the past. But again, industry and this effort butted heads and nothing got done. And right now, as the current mayor mentioned to me yesterday, it's the unknown. It's fine to say we have to protect it for industry, but what's going to happen there?
Well, I guess if I got some time, I better take it. Because you never know when that's going to run out.
Well, unfortunately, it's run out right now. I'm way past the break. So, look, Dave's got your number there. Can we continue this conversation at another time? Because I'm going to get wrapped on the knuckles now as soon as I go to a break.
No, you go ahead with your break, and we'll continue after.
I appreciate it, Alistair. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Former mayor of Burgeo there, Alistair Hand, right off to the break. And welcome back to the show. Let's go right to line number one, and say good morning to Jason Hilliard, the Chief Executive Officer of the Chartered Professional Accountants of Newfoundland and Labrador. Good morning, Jason. You're on the air.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. I just wanted to call in today and let your listeners know that the Chartered Professional Accountants, our members here in Newfoundland and Labrador, are once again offering free income tax services or clinics to senior citizens and other individuals in and around the metro area with a personal income of $40,000 or less.
Jason, just because this is such an important call, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you making time for the program. I took the last caller a little too long, but he had important things to former Mayor Burgeo. Can you do me a favor? I know you're a busy man. Hold on for just a couple of minutes. We get through this break, and when we come back, have a good, fulsome, good chat about this and all the details. It's tax season. It's a really important call. So I do apologize for that, but are you okay to hang on for a minute?
Sure.
Okay, got it. Thanks. I appreciate that, and sorry for the side swipe, but we'll be just going to take this quick break, pay some bills, and be right back. All right, let's rejoin Jason Hilliard, the CEO of the Chartered Professional Accountants of Newfoundland and Labrador, on line one. Jason, that was cruel and unusual punishment. My apologies.
All good. It's a busy morning for you.
Yeah, the only other thing cruel and unusual on this show today is going to be taxes. So much as I hate to even discuss them, anything free is good. So tell us all about it.
Yeah, so our members have been doing this for decades, but this year is no different. I guess we're putting off multiple tax clinics in and around the metro area here. These are available for free, as you said, for citizens, I guess, with a personal income of $40,000 or less. The program doesn't include things like self-employment, rental income, or income from foreign sources, that sort of thing. So it's more your straightforward tax returns.
Your T1, is it?
But yeah. Yeah, so if your income is less than $40,000 and again, fairly basic, just regular employment income or other benefits and stuff, you're normally good to go. But our staff here, if you call in, our staff here will run through a series of questions with you just to make sure you're eligible and then book you in for an appointment. So as I say, we're doing 4 different clinics and they're sort of spread out across St. John's and Mount Pearl on different dates, some in the day, some in the evening. So hopefully something works for your listeners' schedules, and we can get them booked in.
That's a great service, I remember my mother used to avail of that a few years back when they were down. I think they used to have free tax clinics in the Legion there on Black Marsh Road and those other places. Just the idea of that, and not just, it's just a tangle. I mean, who loves taxes? There's a great old commercial out there. Pardon?
Our members love doing them anyway.
Yeah, that's why I could never get my head around chartered accountants. I'm just not a math guy. I never was. Any test that ever came up. That's why I chose journalism. They said there'd be no math, which is why I avoid the budget day like a plague. But, the simple multiplication and addition tables, yeah, but when you get into the other stuff. So, invaluable service, just if for nothing less, even if generally, you have an idea, a free service like this with professionals, and you're not missing something. And again, these are the more simplistic tax returns that we're talking about. But you mentioned it. The key here is to give you guys a shout before you head over, because a wasted trip too. I mean, you never know what kind of little nuance there could be in your tax return or in your papers that you have to file that, might not be within the bailiwick of your staff.
Yes, that's right, and so we take appointments, so it is by appointment, and we coordinate all that for our volunteers, and then our volunteers, like I say, are happy to process the claims or the taxes in on the day. And you're right, the Royal Canadian Legion is still one of our locations, and that's an evening one we do on a Wednesday. So again, our schedule is somewhat flexible, and we can put the person into a clinic that best suits their needs and their location.
Yeah, and absolutely no cost, even for filing, all the rest of it. There's just...
That's right.
How many years has the association, the CPA, local CPA-NL, how many years been doing this?
Well, so CPA was only formed in 2015, and we've been doing it ever since that, and that's when I started here. But this has been going on in the legacy organization, the chartered accountants and whatnot, for decades before that. So I'm thinking it's like 30 plus years, but I can't be sure.
And can you speak to the numbers, up, down, demand, anything along those lines? Changing demographics, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, our demand seems to be fairly steady year over year. We tend to do over 300 tax returns across the 4 evenings, or 4, some of them in a day, so 4 clinics. And we'll have 50 plus volunteers. So it's a fairly quick process. You get your appointment, you pop in, and they'll get you off to the races fairly quick.
And the clinics,
but we're happy to take more as well. We'll fill up the times we have available. Normally we got 2 or 3 hours at each place, and several volunteers at each place. So we'll take as many as we can get.
And which locations again? Just tell me again when you say each place.
So we got the Muse Center. We're doing that one on Saturday, March 14th at 9 a.m. We got the Knights of Columbus on March 18th, starting at 7 p.m. We have the Royal Canadian Legion on Wednesday, March 25th at 6 p.m. And then we have the Park Place Community Center on Saturday in the evening. In the morning. That one is 9 a.m. That's a Saturday.
Okay. And again, the Legion, just to point out, that is the one on Black Marsh, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And, talk to me about, one other question before I get in deadlines, that sort of thing. Seniors, and we say other individuals. What individuals other than seniors would be able to avail of this free service?
Well, essentially anyone with a personal income of $40,000 or less.
Okay.
So, it's typically what we see a lot of are our seniors, but it's open to anybody whose income is less than $40,000. It just comes from sort of standard sources and not self-employment, not rental income or investments in foreign sources and that sort of thing. That gets a little more complex and needs to be done elsewhere. But for those that are getting government benefits and other things that are pretty straightforward, that's the kind of clinics that the ones that we do at the clinic.
Yeah. Does it take very long for each appointment? What's your average
Not
wait?
Really, no, 10 minutes.
Yep. And you're in and out. Again, as long as
it really depends on how chatty everybody is.
Good point.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I was going to ask, so that's in March, and oh, darn it, I lost my train of thought. There was one other thing I was just going to ask you about. Yeah, I guess I was just going to say, I'm going to leave you on this. It just seems like it might be a more comfortable atmosphere and a little bit more secure feeling for seniors as well, as opposed to a commercial. I'm not going to criticize any of the commercial organizations out there, the companies that do tax returns, but it's got to be a level of comfort, when you come into an environment like that, as opposed to, in a formal, say, office setting, as opposed to like one of these clinics where everybody's sort of there for the right reason, same reason.
Yes, it's definitely a more casual setting. Some of our volunteers, have been doing this for again, themselves have been doing it for decades, and see repeat folks year over year. Look forward to seeing the same people back around, but we're also happy to have new people sign up. So it's become a bit of a community, I think, over the years.
Yeah, but they should get on it, hey, because appointments will book up quick, and of course the deadline to file taxes is the end of March, right?
That's right, and you're right. They will book up quick, and if they call in and don't get an answer, leave a message. Our staff will get back to them as soon as we can.
Sounds good.
Our number is 753-3090, and it's extension 201 to get the reception.
709-753-3090, extension 201. And again, if you are just not without, or you are without a utensil, a writing utensil, or any other way to record that, you can give us a shout here. Or, of course, the Chartered Professional Accountants of Newfoundland and Labrador. You got a website there with all your contact information on it as well.
100%. Thank you so much.
Yep, Jason Hilliard, the CEO of the Chartered Professional Accountants of Newfoundland and Labrador. Thanks for the call. Thanks for the service. Really appreciate it.
Take care.
Great. Thanks. You too. Okay, Dave, you want to take that? Yeah, let's take line number 2. And William, you're on the air.
Yeah. I'm calling about the church in Abermale. They're going to bulldoze it, and it's ridiculous. That church is over 100 years old. And I was wondering, can you do anything to stop them? Well,
this is often the first step. To get first of all the news out there. It's the first I've heard of the word demolished and the church in Harbour Mill. Now, there's people right off the top of my head who I know are from that area who would, such as yourself, I imagine. Have you lived there forever and a day?
I don't live there now. I got a summer house down there. I live on Wonderland Road. I got a summer home down there, but I go down in the summertime, right? But that's where I'm from, right?
Right. Is this the St. Mary's Anglican Church?
Yes, that is the Anglican Church.
All right. Now, I knew I wasn't sure I said Anglican. I'm always wary about saying that. Where is this news coming from? William, when did you first learn that it's going to be bulldozed?
Well, I heard it a week ago. A couple of weeks they're going to bulldoze it. And I was talking to people down there, and they said yes, because the siding is coming off it, blowing off it, and it hit somebody's house. And I was going to buy it if I get it cheap, but wouldn't mind too much for it. But I tried to put a bid on it, and just didn't get it sold. And now they're going to bulldoze it. That's ridiculous. That church is over 100 years old.
And many of them like it around the province that are going the way of the dodo. And you said the side is coming off there now, or in hard shape.
Siding, yeah.
William, I don't know, have you got a few minutes? Because we're right at the news break.
Yeah.
Do you mind hanging on for a minute, and we'll just get a little bit more detail out of you when we come back?
All right.
Awesome. Just hang tight. We'll be have a listen to the news, and out of the news, we'll come right back to you. Deadly. Okay, let's put William on hold and off to the news, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of VOCM Open Line. Have your say by calling 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626 and listen live weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
And welcome back to the program. Let's rejoin William on line number 2. William, you're back with us? Yeah, so thanks for hanging on there. I was just fishing around while we were on the news. I wanted to have a quick look around and see if there's any photos of the church. I see a couple there inside, and I don't know how, like the Facebook page that we have of St. Mary's Anglican Church in Harbour Mill is lovely inside, like a lot of the, the cozy old rustic churches that are around our province. The sad part of it is, of course, so many of them are in disrepair. And unless there's somebody there to notice that it's going that way and wants to pump a couple of dollars into it, take it over, save it from destruction. These are such historic, some of the most historic buildings in our province are old churches. And it breaks my heart, every time to see them go this way.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of people upset over it. My sister's upset. A lot of people's upset over it, right? And I is too, and I would have bought it, right? I was going to put in a bid on it, right? But I can't find out how much they want for it, and they're still selling it. Because I would have went and got a loan and try to get it, right? But, I mean, I like to save it, right? I mean, that's a beautiful church, and it's going to ruin the harbor to take that down.
What kind of chatter is there in the community about it with the council? And, I mean, I think your MHA is Elvis Loveless for the area, if I'm not mistaken. Any reach out there, or is this very early days on this?
Well, they ain't got no town council there, Mel, see? I don't know who to call, right? To see about it, right? I don't know who to call.
I think
that church is over 100 years old.
Yeah. Do we know who owns it?
No, don't know who owns it.
Okay.
I don't think they got it sold, right? I don't think they're just going to. I heard it's just going to demolish it.
And who'd you hear that from?
I heard it from a person in our mail, right?
Okay.
And I heard it from another person, right? They said 2 weeks. They're just going to take it down.
And like, is there construction, like any equipment on the site? Any sign that it's getting ready for that?
No, I don't think there's any equipment down there yet. Yeah, but that's what they said about they're going to take it down, right? But I mean that'll ruin the harbor, right? That'll ruin the harbor. Bad enough to lose the lodge in harbor now, right? And the school and the shops and everything, but now lose the church.
Yeah, without a council on the ground, it's hard to know who has. There could be a service. Darren, what's it called? Community Service Council or responsibility through the provincial government, municipal affairs. But Elvis Loveless might be a good first start. And anyone else, I know some people that area, and they know who they are, who are from Harbour Mill area. I think my friend Pam Party might have some insight into this, who called the show yesterday. Rings a bell. But how old do you figure, or is there a plaque on the building? How old is that church?
He's over 100 years old. I know it's that. Yeah, he's over 100 years old. Because my aunt's mother, she's been gone a long time now. And she was baptized in 1918 in the church.
Oh, jeez. So
that church is really old, right?
Yeah, the history is just too valuable to let go that easy and just quietly. So I'm glad, first of all, that you brought it to our attention. Because, again, on the subject of these old churches, and, I mean, we've seen in other communities where they have been revitalized. I mean, here in the city, and, of course, the Roman Catholic churches are a whole different other kettle of wax, where the Vatican should be paying for everything that happens with those churches that the parishioners put their blood, sweat, and tears in over the years and now yanked out from under them through no fault of their own. Only the you-know-what disturbers who are, well, they're worse than that, before the courts. But, William, are you able to get, like, is it accessible? Can you go inside or anything like that? Not that you might want to, because it doesn't sound like it's structurally sound at this point.
Oh, yes, yeah. I don't think they locks it. I think you can walk in and look at it, right? I think you can. But it's a beautiful church, man. It's beautiful inside. So you can get a book to a church in it, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, look, if you, I'll try to get some information. If you want to check with your MHA, Elvis Loveless, and of course, you know, the provincial government and the opposition are always, he's the former minister, of course, now in the opposition with the Liberals. They listen to the program. It'd be great to get a little bit more information on this and maybe even start a little campaign and get her saved because, you know, sometimes people just need to know about these situations. And if you're not there and there's no counsel and there's no one advocating for it other than you, then it could quietly go away and no one would ever know and all that history could be lost. And that, again, I can't stress it enough how it's just not fair sometimes, right? And it's... Go ahead.
Go on. I was going to say, I was even thinking about going down and burying myself in the church when you come with the dozers, but I guess you're rich if you've done that.
Let us know if you do that, William. That'll get attention. Not probably the smart. Well, I won't say smartest. Look, I can't speak for you. I mean, you're there. You're going to the effort to call us. Whatever you think you have to do to save it from disappearing off the face of the earth is, you got to do what you got to do, hey?
Yeah. Yeah.
So look, keep us posted on it. And again, the powers that be are listening. They always are. If you see any movement at all, by all means, I'm here this week and next week. And give me a shout back for any update. But in the meantime, we'll try to do a little digging ourselves and find out who actually owns it and if there's any plan for it or if it's just going to raise the land and that'll be that. Hope not. Yeah. I hope not.
All right. Yeah. Thanks.
William, thanks a lot. Appreciate the call. This is how we find out about these things. Take care.
Yes. Yeah, thanks.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
bye.
All right,
Yeah,
Dave,
bye.
what do you want to do? Do you want to take call it a quick break or line number 1? And Randy, you're on the air.
Hello, everybody.
How's it going?
How you doing, Mike?
All right.
Listen, there, a month ago, I was on social assistance, so I was getting my rent paid 2 days in advance. So I got the pension. Somehow I was out a couple of days late. So my landlord gave me a eviction notice to get out. I said, "What are you doing? Like, what happened? Like, what are you doing with me?" So he gave me a eviction notice. I'm moving to another house. I'm paying nothing for rent. I gotta take care of this elderly man and a woman, take care of them, so care of me. But she's allowed to do that. Hello?
Yeah, no, I'm just here listening. Sometimes people accuse me of interrupting, so I want to give you your due. Just say that last part again.
Well, I was taking care of an elderly man and a woman who was pretty sick, right?
Right.
Well, the man is sick, not the woman. And she won't charge me rent. But the other one charged me $650, and I got my late bill there a couple months ago, $665.
$665, and where is it you're living exactly?
I live right here in St. John's.
Right. Are you in an apartment or in a house apartment or a building or?
A house.
Okay. And so,
right now I am.
Right. And the rent is $650 now.
No, not all. It was $650.
And now it's.
But I moved to another house, and she's not charging me rent because I take care of her and her husband.
Oh, because you take care. Right on. Yep. Okay.
I just won't charge me. But she allowed to do that. The one who evicted me.
Is she, just be specific, just to be clear, because I'm a little confused about who and where, is who allowed, okay, so your former landlord.
So I lived in Kilbride.
Right.
All right?
You're there now?
So, I'm at a car place. And she evicted me because I was 2 days late with the rent.
Okay.
One day and another day, I was late with the rent.
That seems a little heavy-handed.
When I was on social assistance, I was given 2 days in advance. But when I was late for 1 day and 2 days in advance, she evicted me.
So is it?
She allowed to do that.
Is it just? Is that what she told you? The only reason she evicted you was because you were 2 days late with your rent.
Yes, because I had the place clean, and she gave me 2 cats. Take care of them. And I said, "Oh, I give them eviction notice." I said, "No, I can't do that." I took the cats. I see it's, she has rent.
I think there's a, there are specific, in the Landlord and Tenancies Act, and it's been a long time since I had a look at it. There are some very minimum standards of 5 days at least before, unless there are real extenuating.
Yeah, right. I know how it is.
Yeah.
I've been for years, right?
Right.
And she's not allowed to do that. That's for 1 day. Next one for another day late. I was paid 2-3 days in advance.
And you're sure it's just because you were late? Is there any other reason you can think of that she wanted to evict you?
No. I was doing everything. And my house was clean and everything like that, and she didn't know to go.
Did she get someone else who's paying more or something? Or?
Probably more. I'm not prejudiced. One thing I'm not. I'd say it's just some black person coming in there who is pay more for the rent than I'm paying.
Well, I don't, I can't get into the fact of whether or not it has anything to do with gender or race or anything. I'm just not that close to that. And that's it's an unfortunate and a really harsh allegation to make against anyone.
Well, I'll tell you something right now.
Without them having their say, I mean.
Audrey.
Yep.
My friend Audrey and Doug, they're so good to me. I'm good to them, but they're good to me. And she said, Randy, I'll never see you in a shelter. She said, you're moving in with us with no rent. So I'm moving her with no rent. So I got my light bill there a few months ago. $365 a month. So I'm never home. How can I pay that much rent?
So this is your new place now, not Kilbride.
Oh, this is my new place, yes.
Where you were living rent-free while taking care of the couple that are there? Or, well, at least the one person that's not well. And that was kind of that was kind of the deal for you, but you have to pay your own POU, your utilities.
Yeah, I don't pay nothing. I pay no heat, cable, nothing.
So you don't pay that bill in your new new place that you're living?
No.
So who's paying that bill then?
Well, I was on social service. I was having my rent deposit. I was giving my landlord deposit 2 days in advance. So I was 1 day late. She gave me eviction notice.
So what are you doing about that? Can you just put that behind you and just move on with the situation you're in now? And
I don't know, because it's kind of pissing me off, right?
Yeah, I know. Sometimes, it's fine to be pissed off, but I mean, in the short term, it's also best to move on so you don't carry it over. Sometimes what's done is done. If it's nothing you can do about it, or sometimes it's just better for your money situation and for your mental state just to move on. We carry this.
She said I was going to go to landlord tenants, right? Thank you for me. She said, you're threatening me. I said, how am I threatening you? You go to the landlord tenants. I said, that's not a threat. That's a promise. You shouldn't do that to me. Why are you doing this to me?
It sounds like you were lucky to get another place, Randy, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, my son, I'll tell you right now. My landlord is the best kind. She said, you're not going to buy roaches. I'll feed you. She said, I'll feed you. I said, no. I said, I'll buy me roaches. I'm in the basement apartment now. And my son, I'll tell you right now, they're the best landlords I ever had.
Well,
the best ones.
I'll tell you, Randy, to be perfectly honest, you sound positive about the situation you're in now. So I would suggest, and just my humble opinion, and I don't know you from Adam other than the phone call, that, it's best to move on and get past that. If you're living in a good spot now, just for your own, well-being overall, and just so you're not carrying it around as a stressor, I'd move on from that. Thank your lucky stars you got a place, because there's so many people who are struggling to find a place they can afford. And let bygones be bygones. That's the only piece of advice I can give you there. But any other calls, rental this time of year, it's not for the faint of heart. Let's take that break, Dave, right on the quarter. We'll come back with Colleen right after the break. Welcome back to the program. Let's go right to line number 4. And Colleen Power, you are on the air.
Hi, Brian. How are you? Well, you too, I guess.
Oh, my God. How's she cutting? Colleen, it's good to hear from you. Thanks for this call today. I need a little musical break, if that's okay.
Oh, for sure. I'm always happy to call in and talk about music anytime.
Well, you got some big stuff coming up. You're celebrating 30 years of music and double album release. Look, I've loved your music forever. You know that. So much so that I hired you to play for my daughter's birthday one time about 25 years ago. So I always, 20 years ago, I don't know. I lost track of time. Oh, God love you. You came right into the house and you played for her in French and English. You did the bilingual tunes, your songs. And at the time, they were getting lots of play. And they were like, oh, my God, Colleen Powers in our living room. I appreciated that.
That was really special. Thanks so much.
And every gig you've ever done at the Ship or anywhere else downtown, man, I'm telling you. I don't miss it, but if I can get there, I'm there with bells on. What's going on? Give us the latest.
Well, I'm celebrating 30 years in music. It's actually 32 because I had 30 years in 2024. That was the same year as Shannigannock, so
oh well.
be with them. Anyway, yeah, so we've got 30 years music celebration coming up at the Majestic Theater on March the 1st. And as today's climate, we got special pricing for students and children. It's going to be an all-ages show with a full band. I've got Dave Panting on bass and
Legend.
mandolin. Jace, yes, indeed.
Rollins Cross.
Lifetime Achievement Award winner this year at Music NL. I mean, how blessed am I? And from Rollins Cross, and Jeff Panting also from Rollins Cross. Jason Whalen, who's been my sidekick doing duo performances for a while, he's going to be on lead guitar, and also the bouzouki. And Ed Sotheby, who's been with me now for that whole 30 years on the drums, on and off. So it's going to be a great show. We've got Carol Bessfider joining us on the fiddle on a lot of songs, have some surprise special guests, and the dynamic duo, Porto Poutine, is going to open up the show.
I love it.
Yes, and we've done really well with some new releases, the English album. So I'm releasing 2 albums, which is a first for me, number 9 and 10. The number 9 is a French album based on historical Newfoundland stories. All the songs are co-written with Aniron Thomas, my former bass player who moved away, but wouldn't be possible without him. And also so that we won an award in Paris, France, for the first video for this album. Colleen Power is a self-titled 10th album, my first ever vinyl record. So that one's in English. Lots of great songs on there, and it's doing really well stateside on the radio right now, on college and community radio down there. So I'm so delighted with all that progress.
Yeah,
it's
down
been
around
a slog.
Oregon and Michigan way. I mean, who knew? West Virginia?
Who knew? Yeah, exactly.
Mountain
it's
Mama?
doing great.
I want to say, you can't say West Virginia without saying Mountain Mama.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, it's going to be a great night. Yep.
Yep, and not to, we would be remiss if we didn't mention that actually my colleague, my VOCM colleague, who was just here in the studio passing along a bit of information,
Indeed.
Russell Bowers.
I was getting to that.
Is
the
gonna
event
host
is
it.
going to be hosted by Russell Bowers, our morning show favorite guy, and long time friend of mine, who's been a big supporter of me in my career for a long time.
Yeah, no, Russell and I actually knew each other way back in the day, early days when I was back at Telegram and just starting at CBC, and he was there. We crossed paths there. And then, of course, he went out west for a long time, came back, and look at him now.
Indeed, and we missed him the whole time.
We absolutely did.
And kind of like he never left now, so that's great.
No, and he didn't pick up any...
I so appreciate...
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry?
Yep.
Oh, no, I so appreciate Russell offering to host this event, because it makes it a lot easier on me, and he's a wealth of knowledge. He probably knows more about my career than I do.
Yeah. That's a fact. He knows more about things that I just bewilders my mind sometimes. The interesting anecdotes and tidbits that he'll pull out of the air and meld them with something relevant. And Colleen, I just want to say, I don't know how I ended up, but every now and then back when I was moving around and I couldn't stay still downtown, I loved living on every street. I think I lived on every street per capita more than anybody else downtown. But, of course, I was a regular at Fred's, and somewhere along the way, I don't know how I ended up. I have 3 of your Lucky You Are records.
Wow.
I know. I have 3 discs in the house. Lucky you are. I don't know how I ended up with 3 of them. I think it's just that I almost, every time I saw it, I said, I'm not sure if I have it. I better get it again. Every song on that, it's one of those things where you can remember it as one song. So when I hear one, I know exactly the next one, and the one after that, and the note it starts on, and the key it starts in. And it's just in my head. It was one of the most beautiful records. I couldn't believe when I realized that it was a local musician, and let alone you, and I could go watch you do these songs live in person downtown. Anyway, I just want to throw that out. If you've never heard the record, or if you've never bought it, picked it up, first of all, Fred's Records, shameless plug. But and not that your other stuff isn't great. I mean, 9, 10 albums. But Lucky You Are sticks with me. It's a time in my life. It was it's all just great memories, and every song has a picture for me in my brain. So thank you for that.
Thank you. We'll definitely be playing a couple of numbers along with all the songs from the new records. For sure. We got to go back and hit up some of those songs, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah, that album, you probably got more copies than me, actually. it's getting really scarce, I gotta say.
Yeah, I go through all my CDs, and lo and behold, there's 3, one after the other. I've got 2 or 3 or 4 other ones. It's just for some reason I got 3 of those. But there you go. It speaks to the love of it. Colleen, one more time, all the wheres and whens.
Yep. So the Majestic Theatre, Sunday, March the 1st. Tickets are available on their website now. And also, it's all ages with special prices for students, if you're university students, and children as well. So nobody gets left out.
That's wicked. And the venue, the job they did down there in the Majestic is just fantastic.
It is beautiful, and the sound is great. It's really lovely, and I'm so happy to play in this. I'm done with the bars. I'm not. You won't find me in the bars anymore after 32 years. So it's really special to do this event with my full band, and we never get a chance to play. Last time I think was Music NL showcases, which was wonderful. But it's great to be able to play with the band and play in both of our official languages. In a beautiful theater.
Yeah, a lot of the set our age and stuff still playing, but not doing the bars as much, especially the late hours and everything that comes with that, loading in and loading out down on George Street. But I will say this, we'll always have those gigs at the Spur.
That's right.
Miss them a lot.
Terrific.
Colleen, fantastic. This is great. I'd love to see you keep going with this. Whatever you do, I'm going to see it. Good luck with this. Break lots of legs, and we will see you there.
Thank you so much, and thanks for your support over all the years.
Anytime.
Take care.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, take care.
Thank you. Thanks to your listeners.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Colleen Power right there, Majestic Theatre, March 1st, 7 p.m. Get your tickets before they're gone. Let's take that break. We'll be right back with Robert.
The Tim Power Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
And welcome back to the program. Just wanted a quick note for our listeners and on the West Coast. I had a message there from one listener talking about the roads of Corner Brook are plowed today but suggesting that this is the first time, quote, in my 67 years that they're not widening the streets out. So I'm not on the ground there, so I can't say if that's just a first cut, and they're widen them out eventually. I know here in the city and other towns, you get the first cut through at least to make it passable for emergency services and all that sort of thing. At least get the first one out of the way, and then eventually they'll cut them out. I mean, I can tell you now, most of the streets still here in downtown St. John's are one lane, and you have to be courteous and give the little high beam flick and move in and let the judgment, whoever's coming first, to let the other one by. So there's a lot of courtesy that is required and patience. But 67 years, first time suggesting that they haven't been widened out, can't get out of my driveway without going halfway out into the road, which is always white knuckle. And when there's cars coming, you can't see whether they're coming or not. So, quote, the roads need to be widened. The bus routes are not safe to walk to the bus. So all municipalities are exposed to this kind of thing this time of year, of course, because, it's a fact. I mean, people want them cleared, and they want them cleared now because we have things to do and important things to do. I don't think sometimes it's a patience thing. It's almost an expectation that at some point, after a few days, and of course the West Coast is not immune to big snowfall, and I know they're getting a ton of it. I think they're almost over 300 centimeters now for the year, which is already eclipsed the last few years in total. So, so there it is. West Coast as well, dealing with those sorts of things. Let's go to line number 2, and Robert, you are on the air. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning.
How are you?
Not bad. I was in a bad accident a couple of years ago. We had the big gate lane.
Right.
And it blew my glass well. And I'll go get up. My leg was all patched up. So one kind of them went on me. So two cars stopped. I was soaking wet, cold, shaking, shivering. So two cars stopped to get up for a blanket for the car. They can't have it, man. I want to actually a speed buckle bones in my head when I fell.
But there's good Samaritans out there, aren't there?
Yes, there were. Because one car, I had my hand up. One car never went on me. So he took off, and I was scared to death.
Where did this happen?
Thank God.
Where was it, Robert? Where?
Brookfield Road.
On Brookfield Road, right here in the city.
Mm-hmm.
But when exactly did it occur? Sorry, I didn't get.
I got it 3 Tuesdays ago.
Okay.
Like Tuesday, around 8 o'clock.
At night or in the morning?
At night.
Right. So it's dark out. You're nailed, and you can't get up.
No.
And you're waving at a few cars. The first one maybe doesn't stop, but lo and behold, you knew someone was going to stop and help us, because that's the way most of us are.
Yeah, that's right.
So you didn't get their names or anything, did you? Or are they, mostly Good Samaritans don't want to leave any info anywhere. They're just there for the deed, right?
No, they don't do that for the deed. They're doing a good deed. They saved my life.
Wow. Well, they know who they are, and, we hear that there are great people out there, and there are. Unfortunately, we hear the other side of things, too. But these kind of calls are really important to give us faith in humanity, Robert.
That's right, yeah.
Anything else you want to say before you...
No, the tongue has 3 bones in him. 3 bones in him. I'm a lake.
Yep.
Yeah.
How is the health care?
Oh, good. I'm in a care home now. Pulls all road. I'm in a care home.
Nice. In a care home. Care home, yep.
The new place got no newly built.
Yep.
I'm in there, but they was good to me. I want to thank you for the man that I was struggling with the rains. So I want to thank you for the guys that I've got. I'm going to call ambulance. I want to a big thank you for them.
Yeah, you wouldn't be comfortable where you are now and being able to call in and say thank you without just people who are the goodness of their heart. There's a lot of it around. There's more of that around than the other stuff, I think. Fair to say.
That's right. It is.
Yep. Robert, thanks for the call. I can't tell you I appreciate it. This is open line service. We want to hear the good with the bad, because, as you can tell, sometimes. It's disproportionate, the amount of complaints we get as opposed to the good news calls. So I love the good news calls, especially the Good Samaritan calls.
That's right.
Perfect. Listen, Robert, don't be a stranger. Call the line again, especially if it, hopefully no more accidents in your future. But it's good to hear that you're...
My blood pack is on area. My blood pack is away.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
His dog is 330 on Ontario.
Right.
That's right. He's 82 years old. He's a good age.
Oh, Jesus, good run. Holy Moses. Honest to God, at these days, if I can make it into the mid-80s, I'll take it.
Well, I want to 76, so I'll do pretty good money.
Oh, my God, yeah. You're nothing but a spring chicken.
That's right. It's a big chicken.
Yeah. And being cared for well in that care home. So I'm glad things worked out for you from that. And it's just a good...
It did.
Yeah, good reminder. You pass by something, you never know what good you can do out there. So it's a great thing that people were in the right place at the right time for you at that time.
Well, they was at the right time.
Yep. Thanks for the call, Robert. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, take care. Call again.
I will.
All right, great. Take care.
All right.
Bye. Wicked. Now, take one of those calls any day of the week at any minute of the day. Let's go to our final break of the morning and right back with Bruce for some traffic updates right after the break. And welcome back to the home stretch for this Thursday. Let's go to line number 3. And Bruce, you're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Brian. How are you today?
Morning. Pretty good. Thanks. Yourself?
Nick and Patty right about now?
Everybody is. It's still early days. We're still in the grieving stage.
Sorry for the interruption. I'm just passing through Mount Pearl there in the Paradise, and I noticed the lights are out, flashing red, top of Ruth there at Old Placentia.
Oh, right. That's
when you get...
Go ahead.
A busy spot, just coming down from Costco, yeah.
So that's
they're
currently...
By the Whitney Hortons. Yes, I just came down from there moments ago.
Okay.
There by the Whitney Hortons, the kids used to call it.
Right on Wendy Horton's, right on the corner there by, okay, that's a big intersection by the high school and Old Placentia going up towards Galway and all the rest. Whoa,
Correct.
Okay, so good notice. So they're just all four-way? Is it a four-way stop or?
Correct, yeah, everything flashing reds. And I have another. On the way to Paradise, a tractor trailer lost his load of plywood there in the roundabout.
Like roundabouts aren't hard enough to navigate for some people.
Yeah, it's the one there, came out McNamara, I guess, is it out in that, the one further out there by the school.
Yeah. So, now, are we talking Paradise or?
Correct, yeah, Paradise in the roundabout.
Yeah, the one out by the Sobeys out there.
Yeah, that's right, that street, only the other end of it.
Yeah, okay, I gotcha. All right, well, I mean, there's a lot of heavy trucks and tractor trailers. It's a very industrial area back up through there where all those larger distribution centers are, and you come out the back way by Kemhout Road, right?
Yeah, that's right.
The Kemhout Road extension, yeah.
Yeah, tractor trailer, you lost a load of, looks like plywood or sheetrock or something there.
Geez, Bruce, we're going to have to put you on the payroll for our traffic.
Yes, I spend my time going around circles out there in the road.
Whether you like it or not, you can be our intrepid traffic reporter. We won't just find a new open line host. We'll add you to the mix as well, and you can give us our updates as we need them. And we all know what a four-wheel. Tried to talk about a four-way stop yesterday, but the minute I got off the show yesterday, I went through a four-way stop, and ironies of all ironies. It wasn't done right. So again, first car at a four-way stop has the right of way, and then it's the car to the right after that. And if there's any dispute,
there you go.
Try to keep it simple, stupid, as they say.
Yeah.
Any others, Bruce?
Thanks
you want to
taking my call?
Yeah, no problem. Any others? By all means, we'll get you on speed dial so we can have you at the ready just in case you spot something else that we might need to know about.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks for the information. Always appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Brian.
Right.
Cheers.
Okay, have a good day. All right, Dave, what are we doing? We got one more caller just waiting, I think, en route. But in the meantime, just noticed as I was talking with Dave that the Prime Minister Carney there in a live news conference announcing the new automotive strategy. Let's see, what are they calling it? Oh, my goodness gracious. National Automotive Strategy. Yeah, that's the word I needed. And, of course, this is like new EV rebates, and this all comes in the wake, of course, the Prime Minister's trip to China and these non-Kuzma-related trade deal that Canada signed with China, not just on EVs, but on the import of EVs, but also on canola oil and those sorts of things where it's so important out west. And he is delivering it right now. So, it's the launch of the new electric vehicle consumer rebate, and this would replace I guess you could call it the contentious, to say the least, that's saying it mildly, the EV sales mandate that had been in place, and now they'll have new emission standards instead, and it's all part of the new strategy for the Canadian auto sector. And we know how the Premier Ford in Ontario felt about that when the Prime Minister came back with a deal for EVs from China. But it seems that this was a plan all along after that, and I'm sure consultation being what it was, I'm sure it was shared that this would be coming down the pipe soon. So the program is going to offer individuals and businesses purchase or lease incentives, so either buy or lease it, up to $5,000 for battery electric and fuel EVs, and let's see, up to $2,500 for plug-in hybrid models of a few people that I do know. And going along with that, it appears the Liberals have heeded calls for the industry and politics, to say do away with the so-called EV sales mandate, which was under the former Trudeau government. And that really targeted, having EVs account for about 100% of the Canadian sales by 2035. And we know other countries, or European countries, have got these emissions standards in place as well now. The government's also repealing that EV availability standard, and that's been on pause since September, I think, of last year, introducing that with a new greenhouse gas emission standard for vehicle models. Let's see. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I think it's models to be sold, I think it's beginning later next year into 2032. So all new vehicles after 2027 will have a new greenhouse gas emission standard with, as I said, in Europe they're planning to have them done away with by 2035. But for Canada, the aim is to have 75% of vehicle sales to be EVs, and 90% by 2040. So these are lofty targets, I suppose. It's the rationale, emissions reduction policies to focus on the outcomes that matter to Canadians, so the Prime Minister says. So the federal plans also includes rewarding companies that produce cars in Canada and requiring others to pay to access the Canadian market. And there's also going to be an allocation of $1.5 billion to improve the country's EV charging network. So that'll be welcome news for a lot of people as well, because it's one thing to have one. It's another thing to have accessibility, to have one to it, and not everyone's hooking them onto the side of the house and has the infrastructure or the ability or even, the area of the city and the availability to be able to have charging stations in their house and in their garages. So the investment, it seemed to be a bit of a fool's errand there for a while in the waning days of the former Trudeau government. But now it's almost a reset of sorts with regard to these. And so those are all announced today. The Prime Minister was actually doing that as we speak live. There's also a commitment, I just noticed, so this is coming out from the Prime Minister in dribs as we go along, a commitment to allocate $3 billion from the Strategic Response Fund and $100 million from the Regional Tariff Response Initiative to help accelerate investments in Canada on the auto manufacturing sector. And of course, this is all to do with the, the fallout of tariffs, of course, in the United States. And while they go off and make deals with other countries around the world, they will rip Canada for trying to make one with China, which, turned a lot of heads prior to the Prime Minister showing up at the World Economic Forum. But you could see that was also a calculated move as well. And one other story I wanted to mention, I didn't get a chance to do it, but the troubling story, to say the least, of the arrests of 9 police officers in the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, involving this tow truck scam and the operators and allegations of trafficking and the violence has been associated with the tow truck industry in that area and the contracts. Boy, I'll tell you, you talk about the business associated with that, because we just know they go hand in hand, whether or not it's an accident or whether it's the needs and the contracts for policing organizations. But the allegations here take another level altogether. When you're talking about some of these officers are accused of actually leaking addresses of officers to hitmen, leaking police officer addresses. Putting their colleagues, their so-called colleagues, would have been their colleagues, in, harm's way is a kind way of putting it. But to suggest that they were leaking all this kind of stuff with conspiracies, to kill and, all in the name of business and the underground tow truck industry in the GTA area, it is very lucrative. And whoever controls that sort of thing, you can go to intersections, notorious intersections in St. John's, for example, and see a couple of tow trucks just parked there waiting. Now, it's a different kettle of wax here. I'm not suggesting there's anything untoward going on in our local neck of the woods, but this opens your eyes to, God knows what. Just another level of altogether. Check my email. Let me see. I just had a note to check my email. What am I looking for here? Dave, I can't see exactly what Dave was mentioning. I had to look at him. On taxes. Oh, okay. On taxes. You want me to read this one out? The taxes? I have 2 on taxes. Okay, I had a note underneath that. Sorry. Somebody was looking for the number for the free tax service, I think, that was offered by the CPA. We had the CEO of the Chartered Professional Accountants of Newfoundland and Labrador on the air. That number for that free service to get your taxes done for seniors and individuals with income under $40,000, mostly. I think that's the categories. 709-753-3090, and the extension is 201. And I'll give it out one more time, but of course, at any time you can call here, VOCM, call open line, or call any part of the newsroom, any part of VOCM, and we would have that number. We can get it for you. But one more time, 753-3090, 753-3090, and the extension is 201 for all your tax needs, provided by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Newfoundland and Labrador. Great service there. Reduce your headaches, tax time. It almost makes me can't wait to be a senior, although technically in some categories I am, but that's another story. Thanks for all the callers today, and thanks to Dave Williams, who just makes this show hum behind the scenes. If we didn't have him to knock some issues off back and forth, one of these days I'm going to come on with a big rant, and we'll do a profile on Dave Williams and how much he loves his show and how he handles it and keeps it running. That's it for this Thursday. Brian Callahan with you today. Tomorrow, next week. Drive safely, everyone. Arrive alive. VOCM cares.